I moved to Portland when I was 24 for a graphic design job. I didn't know anyone in the city, and my budget was tight, so I found a room for rent on Facebook Marketplace. The post said it was a 2-bedroom apartment and the rent was super cheap for the area. I messaged the guy and his name was Derek. He seemed normal over text. We arranged for me to come see the place that Saturday. When I got there, Derek answered the door. He was probably in his early 30s, tall, kind of skinny with a beard. The apartment was clean and the room was decent sized. He showed me around and everything seemed fine. He worked from home doing something with computers. I told him I was interested, and he said I could move in whenever. I moved in the following weekend. Derek helped me carry some boxes up the stairs, which was nice of him. He seemed like a quiet guy. We didn't really talk much after that first day. He'd stay in his room most of the time and I'd stay in mine. About a week after moving in, I started noticing small things, like my bedroom door would be open just a crack when I came home from work. I always closed it completely before leaving. I figured maybe the apartment was old and the door didn't stay shut properly. Then I noticed my stuff was moved, just slightly. My laptop would be in a different spot on my desk. My dresser drawers weren't closed all the way when I knew I had closed them. I started to think Derek was going into my room when I wasn't home. One night I was in bed scrolling on my phone. It was probably around midnight. I heard footsteps in the hallway outside my door. They stopped right at my door. I could see the shadow of feet blocking the light from under the door. He just stood there. I don't know for how long, maybe a minute. Then he walked away. I didn't sleep well that night. The next morning I went to work and couldn't stop thinking about it. I decided I needed to figure out what was going on. I ordered a small security camera online that I could hide in my room. It arrived 2 days later. I set it up on my bookshelf pointing at my door. It had motion detection and would record to an app on my phone. That same night I went to grab dinner with a coworker. I was gone for maybe 2 hours. When I got home, Derek was in the living room watching TV. He said hi and I said hi back. I went to my room and locked the door. I opened the app on my phone to check the camera footage. My stomach dropped. Derek had come into my room. The timestamp showed he came in about 20 minutes after I left. He walked around slowly. He opened my drawers. He went through my closet. He picked up items on my desk and looked at them. He sat on my bed. Then he just sat there for almost 10 minutes, just sitting on my bed staring at the wall. I felt sick watching it. I locked my door and tried to calm down. I didn't know what to do. I texted my friend back home and she told me to get out of there immediately. I started packing my stuff quietly. I heard Derek get up from the couch and walk to his room. His door closed. I kept packing. Around 1 a.m. I heard his door open again. I froze. I heard him walk down the hallway. He stopped at my door. The doorknob turned, but the door was locked. He tried it again. Then he knocked, softly. "Hey, you awake?" he said through the door. I didn't answer. My heart was pounding so hard I thought he could probably hear it. He knocked again. "I know you're awake. I can see the light under your door." I stayed silent. After what felt like forever, he walked away. I heard his door close again. I called my friend and she said she was driving up from Seattle right then to come get me. She'd be there in 3 hours. I stayed awake the whole time, sitting on my bed with my door locked, waiting for her to text me she was outside. She arrived around 4:30 a.m. I grabbed my suitcase and as much as I could carry and left. I didn't even care about the rest of my stuff. We loaded her car and left. I texted Derek later that day saying I moved out and I wasn't coming back. He texted me back saying, "I understand. I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable." That text creeped me out even more because he knew exactly what he did. I reported him to the police and showed them the camera footage, but they said since he lived there too, it wasn't technically illegal for him to go into the room. They said I could try to press charges for harassment, but it probably wouldn't go anywhere. I stayed with my friend for 2 weeks until I found a new place with a girl I met through a coworker. I never went back to that apartment. Derek still has some of my stuff and I don't even care. I just wanted to be as far away from him as possible. I still check under my doors for shadows at night. I was 26 when I moved to Boston for nursing school. Student housing was full, so I had to find something off campus. I found this listing for a basement apartment in a house in Alston. The rent was cheap and it was close to my school. The landlord's name was Mr. Reeves. He was probably in his 60s, retired, and he lived on the first floor of the house. The basement apartment had its own entrance through a side door, so I wouldn't have to go through his part of the house. When I went to see the place, Mr. Reeves showed me around. The apartment was small, but it had everything I needed: a bedroom, bathroom, tiny kitchen, and a living area. He seemed like a normal older guy. a little quiet but polite. I moved in at the start of September. The first few weeks were fine. I barely saw Mr. Reeves. Sometimes I'd hear him walking around upstairs, but that was it. Then I started hearing other sounds, scratching sounds coming from inside the walls. At first I thought it was mice or rats. I texted Mr. Reeves about it and he said he'd set some traps. But the sounds kept happening, and they didn't sound like small animals. They sounded heavier, like something bigger moving around in there. One night I was studying at my desk and I heard the scratching again. It was coming from the wall right next to me. I put my ear up to the wall and listened. The scratching stopped. Then I heard breathing. I jumped back from the wall. I grabbed my phone and called Mr. Reeves. He didn't answer. I texted him saying there was something in the walls and I needed him to come down right away. He texted back saying he'd check it out in the morning. I didn't sleep that night. I kept hearing sounds, footsteps above me, creaking, more scratching. The next day Mr. Reeves came down and looked around. He said he didn't hear anything and that old houses just make noise. He said I was probably just stressed from school. I wanted to believe him, but I knew what I heard. A few days later I was taking a shower. The bathroom was small and the walls were thin. While I was rinsing my hair I heard that breathing sound again. It was coming from behind the wall next to the shower. I turned off the water and stood there frozen. The breathing continued. Then I heard a voice. It was muffled, but I could make out words. "I can hear you." I screamed and ran out of the bathroom. I threw on clothes and left the apartment. I sat in my car for an hour trying to calm down. I called my mom and told her everything. She said I needed to get out of there. I agreed, but I had already paid rent for the month and I didn't have enough money saved to just leave. That night I stayed at a classmate's dorm. The next morning I went back to the apartment to grab some things. When I opened the door I immediately noticed something was off. There was a smell, like body odor and something else, something stale. I walked into the bedroom and saw that my bed was unmade. I had made it that morning before I left. Someone had been in my bed. That was it. I started throwing my clothes into garbage bags. I didn't care about furniture or anything else. I just wanted my personal stuff and I wanted to leave. While I was packing, I heard a sound coming from the closet. The closet door was closed, but I heard movement behind it. I backed up toward the bedroom door. The closet door started to open slowly. I ran. I dropped everything and ran out of the apartment to my car. I drove to the police station and told them everything. 2 officers came back with me to the apartment. They searched the whole place, including the closet. They didn't find anyone, but they did find something. Behind a panel in the closet wall there was a small opening. It led to a crawl space that ran between the walls of the basement and the first floor. Inside the crawl space they found blankets, food wrappers, and a flashlight. Someone had been living in the walls. The officers went upstairs to talk to Mr. Reeves. I waited in my car. After about 30 minutes they came back out. They told me Mr. Reeves had a nephew who had been staying with him. The nephew had some issues and wasn't supposed to be there according to his parole conditions. Mr. Reeves claimed he didn't know his nephew was going into the crawl space and accessing my apartment through the walls. The officers didn't seem to believe him. They arrested the nephew. I never saw him, but knowing he had been watching me, listening to me, breathing near me through those walls made me feel violated in a way I can't even describe. I got my stuff and never went back. Mr. Reeves tried calling me several times, but I blocked his number. I reported him to the city and I don't know what happened after that. I moved in with 2 other nursing students in a different part of the city. It took me months before I could sleep without checking every closet and listening for sounds in the walls. Even now when I'm alone in my apartment I still get paranoid that someone's watching me from somewhere I can't see. When I was 23, I got a job as a pharmacy tech in Denver. I found a roommate through a roommate matching app. Her name was Lisa and she was 28. She worked as a nurse and did a lot of night shifts, which was perfect because our schedules wouldn't overlap much. We met up for coffee before signing the lease and she seemed totally normal. Friendly, clean, responsible. We signed the lease for a 2-bedroom apartment and moved in the same week. The first month was great. Lisa was barely home because of her schedule, and when she was home she was sleeping during the day. We'd leave each other notes on the fridge and sometimes we'd watch a show together on her nights off. She was a good roommate. Then things started getting strange. I started noticing food missing from the fridge. Not like she was eating my food, like it was disappearing. A full container of leftovers would be gone. A carton of eggs I had just bought would be empty and in the trash. I thought maybe Lisa was having friends over when I was at work, but she never mentioned anyone, and I never saw signs of other people being there. One night I woke up around 3 a.m. to use the bathroom. When I walked into the hallway, I saw light coming from under Lisa's bedroom door. I could hear her talking to someone. The weird part was I only heard her voice, no one else. I figured she was on the phone. I went back to bed. A few nights later, I woke up again. This time I heard footsteps in the living room. I checked my phone, and it was 2:47 a.m. Lisa was supposed to be at work. Her shift didn't end until 7 a.m. I got up and opened my bedroom door slightly. I peeked out into the hallway. The living room light was on. I could see Lisa standing in the kitchen. She was just standing there facing the sink, not moving. I watched her for maybe a minute. She didn't move at all. Then she turned around and walked back toward her bedroom. She didn't see me. I closed my door quietly and locked it. The next morning I asked her if she came home early from work. She said no. She said she worked a full shift and got home around 7:30 a.m. like usual. I knew what I saw. She was lying. I started paying more attention after that. I'd hear her leave for work around 6 p.m. Then around 2 or 3 a.m. I'd hear the front door open and close. I'd hear her moving around the apartment. Then around 6 a.m. I'd hear the door again and she'd come home acting like she just got off work. I didn't understand what was happening. Where was she going in the middle of the night? Why was she lying about it? One night I decided to stay awake and see what she was doing. I heard her leave for work at her usual time. Then around 2:30 a.m. I heard her come back. I opened my door just a crack and watched. Lisa came in through the front door, but she wasn't alone. There was a man with her. He was tall and wearing dark clothes. They went into her bedroom and closed the door. I heard them talking but couldn't make out the words. I texted my friend asking if I should call the police. She said maybe Lisa just had a boyfriend and didn't want to tell me. I thought that was possible, but something felt wrong about it. The next morning, Lisa left for work again around 6 a.m. I watched through my window and saw her get into her car alone. The man wasn't with her. That day at work I couldn't concentrate. I kept thinking about what I saw. When I got home that evening I noticed Lisa's bedroom door was open. She never left it open. I looked inside. The room was a mess, clothes everywhere. The bed wasn't made. But what caught my attention was a duffel bag on the floor. It was partially unzipped. I know I shouldn't have, but I looked inside. There were men's clothes, a wallet. I opened the wallet and saw an ID. The name on it didn't match anyone I knew. The photo showed the man I had seen the night before. Under the clothes I saw something else, a plastic bag with orange pill bottles inside. The labels had different names on them. None of them said Lisa. I put everything back and left her room. I went to mine and locked the door. I looked up the name from the ID online and found news articles. The man had been reported missing 3 weeks ago. His family was looking for him. My hands were shaking. I didn't know what to do. I called the police and told them everything. I gave them the address and the man's name. Officers arrived about 20 minutes later. I let them in and showed them to Lisa's room. They searched it and found the duffel bag. They found the pills. They asked me questions about Lisa and when I last saw her. I told them about the night shifts and the man I saw. They radioed for more units. They told me I needed to leave the apartment immediately. They said it wasn't safe. I grabbed my backpack and left. They told me to stay with someone and they'd contact me later. I stayed with my coworker that night. The next day, a detective called me. He told me Lisa wasn't actually a nurse. She had been stealing credentials and prescription medications from the hospital where she claimed to work. The man who was missing had been staying with her. The detective didn't give me details, but he said the man was found and he was okay. Lisa was arrested. I found out later she had been bringing different people to the apartment when I was asleep. People she met online. She was giving them pills and I don't know what else. I broke the lease and moved out immediately. The landlord understood given the circumstances. I found a studio apartment after that, no roommates. I couldn't trust anyone after that situation. The worst part is I lived with her for almost 2 months and had no idea what she was really doing. She seemed so normal. That's what scares me the most. You really never know who you're living with. I'm 25 and I moved to Austin last year for a marketing job. I found a roommate named Sarah through a mutual friend. She was 27 and worked as a veterinary assistant. Our friend said Sarah was great and very trustworthy, so I didn't think twice about it. The apartment was nice, 2 bedrooms, good location, affordable. Sarah had already been living there for a year, so most of the common area stuff was hers. I just moved my bedroom furniture in, and that was it. Sarah was friendly right from the start, maybe a little too friendly. She wanted to hang out constantly. She'd knock on my door asking if I wanted to watch a movie or get dinner. At first I thought it was nice that she was being welcoming, but it started to feel like too much. I'm pretty introverted, and I need my alone time. After a long day at work, I just wanted to decompress in my room. but Sarah would get upset if I said no to hanging out. She'd make comments like, "You're always in your room," or "You don't like spending time with me." It was exhausting. I started feeling guilty for just wanting space in my own apartment. Things got weirder about a month in. I noticed Sarah would buy things that I had mentioned liking. I told her once that I liked a certain brand of coffee, and the next day, that exact coffee appeared in the kitchen. I mentioned I was thinking about getting a new jacket, and she showed up with a jacket in my size that looked similar to one I had saved on my phone. I asked her how she knew about the jacket, and she said she just thought it would look good on me. But I never showed her the one I had saved. It was too specific to be a coincidence. I started to think she was going through my phone when I wasn't looking. I changed my passcode and started keeping my phone with me at all times. Then I noticed my things going missing. Small things at first. A hair tie, a chapstick, a pen I always used. I thought maybe I was just being forgetful. But then bigger things started disappearing. A sweater, a book, a necklace my mom gave me. I asked Sarah if she had seen any of my stuff, and she always said no. She'd help me look for things, but we never found them. One day I came home from work early because I wasn't feeling well. Sarah's car was in the parking lot, so I knew she was home. When I walked in, the apartment was quiet. I called out her name, but she didn't answer. I went to my room to lie down. When I opened my door, I froze. Sarah was in my room. She was sitting on my bed holding one of my shirts and smelling it. She looked up at me and smiled like nothing was wrong. "Oh hey, you're home early. I was just checking if you had any laundry that needed to be done." That wasn't true. The shirt she was holding was clean and had been hanging in my closet. I told her to get out of my room. She looked hurt, but she left. I locked my door and sat there trying to process what just happened. My hands were shaking. I texted my friend who had connected us and told her what was going on. She said that didn't sound like the Sarah she knew, and maybe it was just a misunderstanding, but I knew it wasn't. I had seen her, the way she was holding my shirt, the way she was smelling it. It wasn't normal. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all the missing items. Around midnight, I heard Sarah's bedroom door open. I heard her walk down the hallway. She stopped outside my door. The doorknob turned, but it was locked. She tried it again, then she knocked softly. "Are you awake?" she whispered. I didn't answer. She stood there for a while, then walked back to her room. The next morning, I waited until Sarah left for work. Then I did something I'm not proud of, but I had to know. I went into her room. It was neat and organized. Nothing seemed out of place at first. Then I opened her closet. On the top shelf there was a shoebox. I pulled it down and opened it. Inside were my things, everything that had gone missing. My hair ties, my chapstick, my sweater, my necklace, but there were other things too. Things I didn't even realize were gone. Receipts with my signature, a grocery list I had written, photos of me that I didn't remember taking, screenshots of my social media posts printed out. I felt sick. There were dozens of items in this box. She had been collecting pieces of me. I took photos of everything with my phone. Then I put the box back and left her room. I called my parents and told them I needed to move out immediately. My dad drove down that same day with a trailer. We loaded all my stuff while Sarah was at work. I left my key on the kitchen counter and didn't leave a note. Sarah started texting me asking where I was and why my stuff was gone. I didn't respond. She called multiple times. She left voicemails saying she was worried about me and that we should talk. I blocked her number. I blocked her on all social media. I told our mutual friend what I found and sent her the photos. Our friend was horrified and apologized. She had no idea Sarah was like that. I filed a police report and showed them the photos. They said it was disturbing, but since the items were mine and I took them back, there wasn't much they could do. They said I could try to get a restraining order if she continued contacting me. I stayed with my parents for a week, then found a new apartment on my own. No roommates this time. I couldn't risk it. A few weeks later, I was at the grocery store and I saw Sarah. She was at the end of the aisle staring at me. I turned around and walked quickly toward the exit. When I looked back, she was following me. I got to my car and locked the doors. She stood in the parking lot watching me drive away. I reported it to the police and they contacted her with a warning. I haven't seen her since, but I'm always looking over my shoulder. Every time I'm out in public, I'm scanning the area to make sure she's not there. I moved to a different part of the city, and I don't tell people my address anymore, not even friends. I learned the hard way that you can't trust anyone. Sometimes I still wonder what she was planning to do with all those things she collected. What was the end game? I don't think I want to know. All I know is I got out before things escalated into something worse. Well, those were tonight's stories. If you enjoyed them, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and let me know in the comments which one got to you the most. I'll see you soon with more stories.